Right now, as you're watching this, a weather system is forming that will make history. Not in a week, not in a month, this weekend. And if you're anywhere from Texas to Virginia, the next 72 hours will determine whether you have power, whether you can leave your house, and whether your family is safe. Here's what nobody's telling you. This isn't just another winter storm. The high-pressure system moving into the United States is breaking records before it even arrives. We're talking about atmospheric pressure readings that meteorologists track maybe once or twice in their entire careers. And it's dragging Arctic air so far south that cities that haven't seen significant snow in decades are about to be buried. The Weather Prediction Center just released their impact assessment. 60% probability of at least minor impacts. Sounds manageable, right? Wrong. That's the floor, not the ceiling. For moderate impacts, we're looking at high probabilities stretching from New Mexico all the way to the mid-Atlantic. That's over 2,000 miles. Major impacts? Still showing decent probabilities. Extreme impacts? They're on the board, and those numbers are climbing every 6 hours as new model runs come in. But here's the number that should make you stop what you're doing. Tens of millions of people will be affected, not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, tens of millions. From Albuquerque to Washington, D.C., this storm is going to touch more American lives in one weekend than most weather events do in an entire year. Now, I promised you something valuable in the first 30 seconds. So here it is. There's a critical decision point in this forecast, and understanding it right now could mean the difference between 6 inches of snow and 6 inches of ice on your power lines. Stay with me, because at the 5-minute mark, I'm going to tell you exactly how to know which scenario you're facing and what to do about it. The models are telling us a story, but they're not all reading from the same script. And that matters more than you think. The European model and the American GFS model are in two different camps right now. One camp says maximum snow, colder than a meat locker, and snow totals that will shut down entire states. The other camp says this thing trends north, brings in more moisture, and creates an ice event that could leave people without power for weeks. Here's where it gets interesting. Over the last 3 model runs, the European ensemble has stayed remarkably consistent. Same footprint, same intensity, just a slight tick northward. When models show that kind of stability 5 days out, meteorologists pay attention. It means the atmosphere has already made up its mind about the big picture. The details might shift, but the overall pattern is locked in. Virginia, you need to hear this. Multiple models are placing you in the sweet spot. And in winter storm forecasting, the sweet spot doesn't mean the best place to be. It means the maximum impact zone. Central Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, even Albuquerque, New Mexico is showing up in the snowfall forecasts. That's a fetch of moisture stretching across the entire southern United States. And here's a detail that's easy to miss but critical to understand. We're not just talking about snow. Look at the dual threat here. Heavy snow from Washington, D.C. back to Amarillo, Texas. That alone would be historic. But simultaneously, we're tracking ice from Dallas through Monroe, Louisiana, up into northern Alabama, Mississippi, Atlanta, and over into South Carolina. That purple overlap zone on the hazard map? That's where snow and ice are going to create conditions that some communities simply aren't equipped to handle. Let me put this in perspective. 3 to 4 inches of snow in southern North Carolina. You might think that's not so bad, but here's the twist. That 3 to 4 inches is going to have massive amounts of sleet and freezing rain mixed in. By the time this is over, we're not talking about fluffy snow you can brush off your car. We're talking about frozen cement, the kind that weighs down power lines until they snap, the kind that turns every road into an ice rink. The European model is showing freezing rain accumulations of 1.5 to 2 inches in some areas. Now, that might be slightly overdone because the air is going to be so cold that some of those raindrops will freeze into sleet before they hit the ground. But even if we see 1 inch of ice accumulation, that's catastrophic for power infrastructure. Half an inch of ice can bring down power lines. 1 inch guarantees it in many areas. Here's something most people don't know about ice storms. They have a memory. What I mean is, once ice starts accumulating on a power line, every additional drop doesn't just add weight. It adds to the surface area where the next drop can freeze. It's exponential, not linear. That's why 1/4 inch of ice is a nuisance, but 3/4 of an inch is a disaster. And the footprint of this potential ice is staggering. From Texas to Charleston, South Carolina, down to Savannah, Georgia, we could be looking at the widest ice event in modern record-keeping for the southern United States. But wait, there's more to this story. And this is where forecasting gets really tricky. There's a low-pressure system down in Baja California, and what that system does in the next 48 hours is going to determine whether you're shoveling snow or chipping ice off your driveway. The GFS model wants to keep that Baja low separate. It brings energy in from the north, keeps the height lines flatter, and doesn't pump as much moisture into the mid-levels. Result? More snow, less ice, but also a slightly different track. The Canadian model wants to integrate that Baja low fully into the main system. Result? More moisture, more ice, and a potential transfer of the low-pressure system off the coast that would create a major nor'easter for the mid-Atlantic and northeast. This isn't just meteorological inside baseball. This is the difference between Atlanta getting 4 inches of snow versus 4 inches of ice. It's the difference between Dallas facing a snow event they can handle versus an ice storm that shuts down the entire metro area. Now, here's the pattern I've observed over 4 decades of tracking weather. When you see massive high-pressure systems and deep troughs of the polar vortex showing up in the models at day 7, pressing all the way down to the Gulf Coast, they tend to trend back north a bit as we get closer. Meteorologists call it the northwest trend. It's so common that it's almost a rule. But here's the plot twist. This time might actually be different. And I don't say that lightly. The zone of high pressure entering the nation's midsection is extremely unusual. We're talking about record-setting high pressure, the kind that bullies the pattern, the kind that doesn't back down just because it's getting closer to game time. So there may be a limit to how far north and west this can trend. Current model runs are showing some northward movement, but not the dramatic shifts we sometimes see. The GFS has ticked north, but it's still showing a massive snow footprint from just south of Norfolk, North Carolina, back through upstate South Carolina, around and north of Atlanta, northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, around Little Rock, back toward Oklahoma City, and even close to Dallas. Let me give you the temperature story, because this is where things get truly dangerous. We're talking about surface temperatures in the teens and 20s all the way down to South Georgia during the height of the storm. Not the wind chill. Actual air temperatures. When you're getting heavy precipitation with temperatures in the teens, you're creating conditions that the South simply doesn't have the infrastructure to handle. And it doesn't end when the snow stops. This is crucial. What falls will stick and stay. The cold air behind this system is going to park over the region. We're looking at single-digit temperatures, potentially even negative numbers in areas where there's snowpack on the ground. Wednesday morning, multiple days after the storm, some areas could still be seeing temperatures below zero. Think about what that means. No January thaw. No melting during the day. Ice and snow that accumulates this weekend could still be on the roads on Wednesday, Thursday, even Friday. For cities like Atlanta, Nashville, Little Rock, this is unprecedented in modern times. Here's your power outage calculus. Ice weighs approximately 57 pounds per cubic foot. A quarter inch of ice on a 40-foot span of power line adds about 500 pounds of weight. But it's not just the weight, it's the wind. When ice accumulates on power lines and then wind picks up, those lines start to swing. That swinging motion is what actually brings them down. And we're going to have wind during this event. Some people won't see their power restored for days. Some won't see it for weeks. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to prepare you. Power companies can only stage so many crews in so many locations. When you have an impact zone that stretches from Texas to Virginia, there simply aren't enough bucket trucks in the entire country to restore power simultaneously across that area. Let's talk about the timeline, because timing is everything. Friday evening, precipitation starts breaking out across Texas and Oklahoma. By Saturday morning, snow everywhere. Within 24 to 48 hours from right now, you're going to see winter storm watches light up across the South. Saturday through the day, heavy snow makes it into the Carolinas, Tennessee Valley, the Southeast. Saturday evening through Sunday, that's when we hit peak intensity. The fetch of precipitation could stretch from South Texas all the way to Virginia Beach and up into Baltimore and D.C. If the GFS is right, we're talking about a continuous band of heavy snow over 1,000 miles long. That's not a typo. 1,000 miles of simultaneous heavy snow. Now here's what keeps me up at night. The after effects. High pressure is going to sit over the top of this system and just keep feeding cold air south. Even after the main storm moves through, we could see additional waves of snow. One model is showing another low-pressure system moving through the following Wednesday. More snow for South Alabama, South Georgia, South Carolina. The pattern beyond this weekend remains cold, remains active, remains stormy. This isn't a one-and-done situation where we get a big storm and then temperatures bounce back into the 50s and everything melts. We could be looking at a week to 10 days of well below normal temperatures. The Weather Prediction Center is showing 90% probability of below normal temperatures for the next 10 days. 90%. That's as close to a certainty as weather forecasting gets. Let's address the Canadian model scenario, because this is the other side of the coin. If the Baja Low integrates fully, we're looking at a sleet fest. 6 to 8 inches of sleet in parts of upstate South Carolina. That's not snow. That's not rain. That's ice pellets accumulating like snow but weighing far more and compacting into solid ice. Dallas gets hammered with freezing rain in this scenario. The sleet and freezing rain line creeps into North Carolina, into Tennessee. By Saturday afternoon, it's already transitioning. Then the low transfers off the coast near Cape Hatteras, builds a new low off the coast, and that secondary low brings heavy snow to the Ohio Valley. Pittsburgh, D.C., Baltimore, New Jersey, New York, Boston. In this scenario, the Northeast gets a major snowstorm, while the South deals with the ice. Here's the question everyone wants answered. Which model is right? And here's the honest answer. We don't know yet. Both scenarios are plausible. Both are supported by reputable models. The truth might be somewhere in between, or it might be that one model nails it and the other is completely wrong. My lean, based on pattern recognition and 40 years of watching these systems, is that we trend north a little bit, at least. I think we see less snow than the snowiest GFS solutions are showing, but I don't think we dodge the bullet on ice. I think ice becomes the major story for a huge swath of the South. But here's what I know for certain. No matter which model you believe, this is going to be a major winter storm. The question isn't whether it's going to be bad. The question is what type of bad and exactly where. Let me give you the action items, because information without action is just entertainment. If you're in the impact zone from Texas to Virginia, you need to go to the store now. Not tomorrow. Not Friday. Now, stock up on non-perishable food. Fill up your gas tank. Get batteries. Get flashlights. If you have a generator, test it today. Make sure you have fuel for it. Prepare to be without power. That means having a way to stay warm that doesn't rely on electricity. It means having water stored, because if the power goes out long enough, water treatment plants can be affected. It means having a plan for medications that need refrigeration. Make plans to shelter in place. If you don't have to travel this weekend, don't. I know it's inconvenient. I know you might have plans. Cancel them. This is not the weekend to be on the roads. Even if you have four-wheel drive, even if you're a confident winter driver, conditions are going to deteriorate rapidly and you could get stranded. Check on your neighbors, especially elderly neighbors. Make sure they have a plan. Make sure they have supplies. This is a community event, and communities that pull together get through these things better. Now, about that critical decision point I promised you at the 5-minute mark. Here's how you'll know which scenario you're facing. Watch the temperatures closely as the storm approaches. If temperatures are holding in the mid to upper 20s, you're in the ice zone. If temperatures crash into the teens and low 20s early and stay there, you're in the heavy snow zone. Also watch for the wind direction. If you start getting easterly winds, that's moisture coming in off the Atlantic, and that favors more precipitation and potentially more ice. If winds are northwesterly, that's colder and drier, favoring more snow and less overall precipitation. The Weather Service offices in your area are going to be issuing updates every few hours as this develops. Pay attention to them. They have more detailed local knowledge than any national forecast can provide. Let me also mention something that's happening in space right now, because it's relevant. We just had a major solar flare that launched a coronal mass ejection. We reached G4 geomagnetic storm conditions, almost hit G5. There was a significant proton storm. Aurora were visible at low latitudes. Why does that matter? Because geomagnetic storms can affect power grids. They can induce currents in long transmission lines. We're about to stress the power grid with ice. The last thing we need is additional stress from space weather. The storm is waning now, but it's something to be aware of. The lake effect snow bands are already setting up off the Great Lakes. Some areas could see another couple of feet from those bands alone, and that's before the main system even arrives. Extreme cold warnings are already up across the northern tier. Winter storm watches are already posted in parts of the south. Within the next day, you're going to see that map light up like a Christmas tree with winter storm watches and warnings from Texas to Virginia. This is real. This is happening. And it's happening fast. One more thing I want to stress. This pattern doesn't end with this storm. We're entering a sustained period of cold and active weather. There could be additional winter storms in the days following this one. Don't prepare for just one event. Prepare for potentially a week or more of challenging weather conditions. The climate pattern that's driving this is a deep southward plunge of the polar vortex combined with record high pressure building in from the Pacific. That's a recipe for extreme weather, and it's a pattern that can persist. If you're watching this from outside the impact zone, you might be thinking this doesn't affect you, but it does. The supply chain disruptions from a storm of this magnitude ripple across the entire country. Trucks can't move. Warehouses can't ship. This is going to affect grocery store shelves and delivery schedules nationwide. So here's where we stand. Historic winter storm forming for this weekend. Impacts ranging from significant to extreme across a zone affecting tens of millions of people. Heavy snow, significant ice, power outages measured in days or weeks for some areas, and brutally cold temperatures during and after the event. The models are converging on the big picture but still disagreeing on crucial details. Those details matter enormously for individual locations, but the overall message is clear. Major impacts are coming, and they're coming fast. Prepare now. Stock up now. Make your plans now. The window for preparation is closing rapidly. By Friday, store shelves are going to be picked over. By Saturday morning, you need to be where you're planning to ride this out. This is not hyperbole. This is not fear-mongering. This is reading the data, understanding the patterns, and communicating the reality of what's about to unfold. The atmosphere doesn't care about our plans or our comfort. It's going to do what the physics dictate. And right now, the physics are lining up for a historic event. Check back for updates. The forecast will continue to evolve. Details will sharpen. But the big picture is set. Winter is coming to the south, and it's bringing everything it's got. One final thought. In my 40 years of tracking weather, I've seen a lot of storms. I've seen systems that looked terrifying on the models and fizzled. I've seen systems that looked modest and overperformed. This one is showing up consistently across multiple modeling platforms, maintaining intensity as we get closer and demonstrating atmospheric setups that we know from history produce major events. Trust your instincts. Trust the science. Trust the forecasters at your local weather service office. And most importantly, trust that being overprepared is infinitely better than being underprepared. The weather runs 24/7. And for the next week, it's going to be running in overdrive across the southern United States. Stay safe, stay informed, and stay ready. Because ready or not, this storm is coming. Here's what different impact levels mean for you. Minor impacts, challenging travel, some power outages, schools closed. Moderate impacts, hazardous roads, widespread outages, emergency services overwhelmed. Major impacts, impossible travel, extended blackouts, critical infrastructure failures. Extreme impacts, isolated communities, National Guard deployment, FEMA mobilization. We have probabilities showing up for all these categories across the impact zone. Power lines, water pipes, cell towers, internet service, everything is vulnerable. And I've watched communities go through this. Day 1 feels like adventure. Day 2, reality hits. Day 3, people get desperate. Day 4 shows a community's true character. The economic impact runs into billions. The Atlanta ice storm of 2014 cost $2.5 billion. This could affect 10 times that area. Historical context: the ice storm of 1994, the storm of the century in 93, Kentucky's ice storm in 2009. This has potential to join that list of generation-defining winter events. Personal safety first. Carbon monoxide from generators indoors kills fast. Generator goes outside, 20 feet from your house. Exhaust pointing away. Not in the garage, not on the porch. Outside. Space heaters stay 3 feet from anything flammable. Don't use extension cords with them. Four-wheel drive helps you go, not stop. Black ice is invisible. Safest speed on ice, 0, staying home. Must drive? Slow way down, 8 to 10 second following distance, brake gently and early, no cruise control, full gas tank, emergency kit in car, with blankets, water, snacks, flashlight. Medical conditions need special planning. On oxygen? Talk to supplier about backup power. Diabetic? Extra supplies? Insulin refrigeration plan. On dialysis? Contact treatment center about contingencies. Parents, babies can't regulate temperature like adults. Lost heat? One room, lower floor, layers, keep kids dry. Food and water. Non-perishable items, canned goods, crackers, peanut butter, granola bars. 1 gallon water per person per day, minimum 3 days worth. Fill bathtub before storm. Charge all devices. Battery radio for updates. Establish out-of-state contact person. Recovery phase brings new dangers. Downed power lines are live until proven otherwise. Ice-loaded roofs can collapse days later. Tree branches fall without warning. Flooding comes during thaw. Ice dams cause roof leaks. Shoveling heavy snow causes heart attacks. Take breaks. Lift with legs. Consider hiring help if over 50. Behind the scenes, massive mobilization is happening. Power companies staging crews from other states. National Guard on alert. FEMA prepositioning supplies. DOT loading salt spreaders. Positioning plows. Bringing contractors from northern states. Hospitals checking generators, stocking supplies, calling extra staff. But even with all that, the scale overwhelms capacity. Not enough crews to restore power to tens of millions simultaneously. Not enough plows to clear every road. Not enough shelters for everyone. That's why your preparation is critical. Official resources get triaged to life-threatening emergencies first. If you can shelter safely in place, prepare to do so without outside help for potentially a week or more. Supply chains run just-in-time delivery. Stores don't have weeks of inventory. When shelves empty, restocking takes days under normal conditions. Impassable roads? No restocking at all. This is why preparing now, while everything functions normally, matters so much. Back to meteorology. We're seeing an omega block, high pressure west and east, deep trough between, exceptionally stable and persistent. That trough pulls Arctic air straight from Canada without time to modify. That's Minnesota temperatures in Mississippi, moisture from Gulf and Atlantic. Arctic air plus Gulf moisture equals heavy precipitation. The polar vortex is always there, a large area of low pressure and cold air around both poles. What changes is how far south it extends. When weak and wavy, pieces break off and dive south. That's happening now. A lobe extending deep into the southern United States. The jet stream, a river of air in the upper atmosphere, steers storms and separates cold from warm. Right now it's developing a massive southward dip, bringing cold air, moisture, storm systems, and that omega block makes it all stall and persist over the same region for days. This is the perfect storm meteorologically. Multiple factors coming together, all reinforcing each other. These aren't subtle signals. These are screaming alarms in every model, every ensemble, every forecasting tool. Nature is about to demonstrate its power, and we're privileged to have the technology and science to see it coming. Our ancestors dealt with storms like this without warning. We have days to prepare. Use them wisely. The next 72 hours are your preparation window. After that, you're in response mode. And response mode is always harder than preparation mode. So make your lists, check them twice. Stock up on supplies, charge your devices, fill your gas tank, check on your neighbors, make your plans, and then When the storm hits, hunker down, stay safe, stay warm, stay informed. This too shall pass. But it's going to be memorable while it's happening. Make sure your memories are of successfully weathering the storm, not of wishing you'd prepared better. The weather doesn't care about our convenience. It doesn't care about our schedules or our plans. It operates on physical laws and atmospheric dynamics. Our job is to respect that power and prepare accordingly. This is one of those times where preparation isn't optional. It's not something you can skip because you're busy or because you think it won't be that bad. The data is clear. The impacts are coming. The question is whether you'll be ready. I've given you the information. I've given you the timeline. I've given you the action items. Now it's up to you to execute. Check back for updates. The forecast will continue to be refined, but the time to act is now. Don't wait for the first flakes to fly or the first freezing rain to start. By then, it's too late. Prepare like your safety depends on it, because it does.